Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again to the High School Sports Beat. I'm Dave Yates. It is time now for the High School Notebook, and that means it's time for Matt Trable to join us. Matt, thanks once again for hopping on board.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, it is finally here. It looks like we're going to have those quote-unquote high-risk sports starting up.
New York State high-risk high school sports are back. And January 22nd, the governor's office announced that high school sports in that highest risk category you mentioned a second ago, and those are because here during these COVID-19 times, that those sports would be able to have competitions starting on February 1st with approval from local departments of health. Within an hour of that announcement, Monroe County Commissioner of Public Health, Dr. Michael Mendoza, tweeted out his approval. That now past February 1st date was when high-risk winter sports practices could begin. Games are starting up February 8th and 9th, depending on if it's hockey or if it's basketball. March 1st is the planned start date for quote-unquote Fall 2 sports. You also want to make sure to mention wrestling in this current high-risk sports situation coming up, this period coming up. April 19th is the planned start date for Section 5 spring sports. The high-risk winter sports regular season will end on March 6th. Sectionals will end on March 14th. So obviously more compact than usual, but it's still going to pack a punch. It's still something that these kids and coaches, so on and so forth, have been waiting for such a long time. The state is allowing 2 spectators per student, but that can change based on the individual school involved. All 12 health departments in the Section 5 area gave the okay by January 12th. Last weekend, I was interviewing Newark football student athlete Javante Murray, and he was telling me that he honestly didn't think there'd be a season, which I think a lot of us, including myself, thought to a certain degree after a while. And so he said his heart dropped when he heard the big news, and I assume a lot of other people in the Section 5 sports community had a very similar excitement about that news coming out.
So we're kind of looking at really like the Reader's Digest versions of this winter season and then the quote-unquote Fall 2 season, because they're only going to be about a month long, right?
Absolutely. And when you look, it's really 8 days, which is obviously much more compact compared to a few weeks for that sectional period on top of what you were just saying a second ago. Maybe we call it the Ocho. Maybe we give it that added excitement level because you really got to make stuff count more.
Yeah, for sure. That is for sure. And talking about getting back to play and getting back to play safely, a little statement on Twitter regarding that recently.
So a handful of hours before the big announcement from the governor's office that I mentioned a second ago, Pittsburgh men and girls basketball student athlete and Cornell commit Lexi Green, she started a social media movement that deserves to be applauded, if you ask me. She tweeted her class standing, her sport, her school, then the sentence, if we have a season, I pledge to hold myself and my team accountable to all COVID safety protocols. Then she challenged other high school athletes at the end of the tweet to share the message and a photo of them playing in the past if they felt the same as her on this topic. It quickly became known as the Let Us Play Twitter Challenge. This is yet another instance of Lexi being an exceptional leader and example. It swiftly grew through the Section 5 area, then across the entire state not long after, including with a couple people that Lexi tagged in that initial post who are from different parts of New York State. That's Providence commits Megan Herder, Olivia Olson. Later that weekend, it had grown to many student athletes in other states, including the state of Michigan. When I went to count how many of those tweets came out after the fact, even outside of the state of New York, I was checking that a couple Mondays ago. I had to stop my scrolling because I was getting into the triple digits of tweets from students and coaches in Michigan alone. It has blown up, and she deserves a lot of praise for it. And it's just a huge, nice cause and a good thing that she did.
That's great stuff. And it's also a testament, I think, to the way Section 5 and the schools in our area have handled all this, because really through the fall season, there wasn't a major outburst like we were possibly afraid of happening. They did things the right way.
And what you really saw out of it is just the connection. It's kind of let's group together as one for this common goal. And that was really great to see. Just kind of really whatever part of the Section 5 area you saw coming from, everyone kind of joined in together and got the job done to a certain degree.
Let's change gears real quick and real fast. Let's talk about the terrors of college hockey, the Terriers, Boston University.
So we talked in the show recently about how this unorthodox COVID college school year resulted in the Siena and New Mexico men's basketball seasons having their starts delayed significantly. That also applies to Boston University men's ice hockey, where its pair of Rochesterians, BU, started its season on January 8th against Providence. The Terriers, you mentioned a second ago, they lost 7-3 in that opener, despite 3 assists combined from the 5-8-5 duo. Since that loss, though, BU has risen to a 5-1 record and number 15 ranking in the national poll. Last season, former Victor Blue Devil David Ferentz led the nation in defenseman scoring and was a top 10 finalist for the Hobie Baker Award in his stardom, continuing in full this year with 14 points in the first 6 games. That includes factoring into 6 straight recent goals for the Terriers, currently being second in the country in scoring percentage and scoring the overtime goal to win it versus number 8 UMass on January 18th. Then there's former Pittsford Sutherland student Max Kaufman, who transferred in from Vermont. He recorded 15 goals, 20 assists in his 3 seasons. The Catamounts, he is up to 4 assists this year and was made one of the assistant captains for his new program. On January 23rd, one more recent stat for Ferentz, leading the nation right now in points per game. Have another big one, David Ferentz.
All right. Great stuff, Matt. As always, thanks very much. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. We're back with more of the High School Sports Beat right after this.